All right, welcome to Hannity. A lot of breaking news tonight. The 2020 presidential election is officially gearing up, and the Democratic Party, they're imploding. Radical, extreme, far-left socialists have now taken over. Any Democrat who doesn't fall in line and support this radical, extreme agenda, this left-wing vision, if you will, you get thrown down the curb by Ocasio-Cortez. You have a group now, and all of America needs to see this. Hyper-partisan freshman lawmakers, they are now leading the way. They set the agenda. Nancy Pelosi is afraid of all of those freshmen. Now, the list is led by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, according to a report from the Washington Post, she warned her fellow Democratic lawmakers not to vote with Republicans, or she's going to put them on a list to be primaried in the next election. Welcome to Congress. Now, no surprise there. Political intimidation is always a key component of socialism. Now, after all, she needs as much support as she can get for this insane Green New Deal, which vows to totally reshape America by putting an end to all fossil fuels, combustion engines, nuclear energy, airplanes, and yes, cows because of flatulence and CO2 gases. It also promises to provide everything is free. You don't have to worry another day in your life. Free government healthy food, free daycare for your kids, free housing, free college education. Forget about K through 12. Free universal health care, free. Oh, but pro-choice Democrats, they're going to allow you to have your private plan anymore. Forget choice. You get guaranteed vacations, you get universal guaranteed income, a guaranteed retirement, even people unwilling to work. But like any other socialist, Ocasio-Cortez, she's really just interested in improving her own quality of life and redistributing the wealth among those in her own inner circle. Look at this. According to a brand new bombshell FEC complaint, Ocasio-Cortez's chief of staff is now accused of illegally moving nearly $1 million in campaign contributions to his own private companies. And in doing so, well, that money could be shielded from all election-related reporting. In other words, Ocasio-Cortez under fire tonight. Her chief of staff could have used those donations for anything without reporting it, including maybe big payments to themselves, their family, their friends. And we already know, based on a separate FEC complaint, that Ocasio-Cortez's boyfriend, well, he was funneled thousands of dollars from a political action committee set up by this very same chief of staff. But really, who can blame him for taking the money? After all, it's incredibly expensive to keep up with the jet-setting lifestyle of the freshman socialist congresswoman. Last night, we first showed you how Ocasio-Cortez, who wants to ban all air travel, but she herself loves flying on airplanes between New York and D.C. Now, there's something called Amtrak. It goes pretty much every hour on the hour between D.C. and New York, and she chooses not to do that. In fact, she chooses to take a plane 3 times more when 3 times more travelers themselves choose Amtrak between the two cities. Not Ocasio-Cortez. She prefers the convenience of flying, especially since we, the American people, will be picking up the bill. It costs more to fly. Now, Fox News producer caught up with Ocasio-Cortez as she was getting off a flight in D.C. today. We asked her about her travel preferences, recent FEC complaints, and much more. Take a look.
All right, and then what is the difference between you taking a flight and a train, though?
Excuse me, sir.
A couple hours of my constituents' time. Thank you.
All right, and then also, do you have any comment on the FEC violation filed against your office?
There is no violation, so there's no violation.
Do you think that's a sign of you taking dark money?
Oh, no. I'm 100% legal. Thank you.
Well, she's learned how to duck questions pretty quickly. Now, I thought the world was going to end in 12 years if we didn't make all these drastic sacrifices and changes right now. That's right. Socialists, it's always do as I say, not as I do. Now, that's why she has no problem taking planes over trains, why she prefers that Caravan, the gas guzzler, and that service over public transportation. It's why Ocasio-Cortez probably doesn't want you to know that her very own mother left the great state of New York because of its incredibly high taxes. It's why Bernie and Hillary and Joe Biden and Al Gore, they all take private jets and we catch them all the time. And get this, even though a climate change apocalypse is on the horizon, recycling, well, that's just way too much work than Ocasio-Cortez is willing to put in. The hypocrisy is just rampant. Take a look.
I can be upset that I get
10 plastic bags at the grocery store and then have to toss out my plastic bags because the recycling program in the area is tough, and that's okay.
Oh, that's okay. If she thinks recycling plastic bags is tough, how does she expect you, the American people? You have to rebuild all of your houses within 10 years. You're going to get rid of your gas-powered cars. You're going to have to stop eating red meat and flying in airplanes. Remember, Ocasio-Cortez fought hard to block Amazon from building their headquarters in New York City. That would have been 30, 40, 50,000 jobs for New Yorkers. Why? Because of their evil capitalist ways. Well, now, after so much bad press, she is backtracking. Her chief of staff is reportedly saying that Amazon's 25,000 jobs might be welcomed in the city. Probably too late, under the right conditions. How generous. And keep in mind, socialism, that's only one component of what is now this radical, extreme Democratic Socialist Party and their agenda. In fact, as we were pointing out last night, many of the same far-left lawmakers pushing socialist policies are also spreading vile, hateful, rabid, anti-Semitic views all throughout the halls of Congress. Look at Minnesota Congresswoman Omar, once again facing more backlash after yet another anti-Semitic comment on Twitter. Now, first, she proclaimed that Israel was evil and hypnotizing the world. Then she suggested that the support for Israel was just because of Jewish money, or, as she put it, all about the Benjamins. And most recently, she pushed a longtime anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that her colleagues support Israel because they have a dual allegiance to the country. Now, for the second time, the House of Representatives has been forced to pass a resolution reminding some Democrats that anti-Semitism is bad and will not be tolerated. Well, that's not stopping Congresswoman Cortez from defending her anti-Semitic colleague on Twitter, writing, quote, "Now, if we called resolutions on sexist statements, a good chunk of Congress would be gone. To jump to the nuclear option every single time, leaves the room. And for some corrective action, I'm asking everybody that we practice calling in before calling out." So I guess socialists, sort of a feather stick together, right? Birds of a feather. Even when one of them is absolutely obsessed with hating the world's only Jewish state, our closest ally in the region, the only democracy in the region, Israel. And meanwhile, far-left, anti-Semitic bigot and self-proclaimed women's rights leader Linda Sarsour backing up her radical friends on Capitol Hill, slamming Speaker Pelosi's decision to put forth the resolution against anti-Semitism, calling the speaker, quote, "a typical white feminist upholding the patriarchy, doing the work of power white men." Wow. And you know what? Nancy Pelosi's afraid to take a stand because that freshman group, they can unseat her pretty quickly. So while some congressional Democrats focus on hating Israel and a bizarre socialist eco-state, well, Congresswoman Maxine Waters is back, and she's sticking to her own longtime favorite obsession, impeaching 45. And yesterday, she renewed these new fantasies on Twitter, writing that, quote, "impeachment is the only answer. Socialism, anti-Semitism, impeachment, unprecedented 24/7, 365 investigations, 8 committees into all things Donald Trump. An investigation in search of a crime, any crime, 24/7, abuse of power, try to bludgeon the president politically, impeach him. If they can't impeach him, death by 1,000 cuts." It is a very scary picture inside this new radical Democratic Party. And as the 2020 primary season kicks into high gear, it has become very clear that it will be a contest to see who can present the single most radical, most extreme, most socialist vision for America's future. Do you want America to be a socialist country? Bernie Sanders appears to have some early momentum. On the fence candidates like crazy Uncle Joe Biden, he may be losing before he even starts. Look at what happened during fake news, CNN's Democratic Focus Group earlier today. I hope Uncle Joe's watching. Take a look.
How many of you would like to see Joe Biden get in? Show of hands. What's happening, Russell?
His time is done.
But to be honest, Senator Biden really comes from the kind of the good old boy politics of the past.
I don't think Joe Biden represents that new thing that we need. We need a new economy. We need a new politics, and we need someone different.
Remember, if Hillary didn't cheat, that nomination would have gone to Bernie Sanders. And while Biden is on the fence deciding whether or not he's going to run, Hillary, wow, huge announcement. She won't try it a third time. And that's not stopping her allies from rehashing old wounds with Sanders from 2016. This intramural Democratic battle is real. Remember, last week, former Clinton aide referred to Sanders as, quote, His Royal Majesty, King Bernie Sanders. Well, he does have 4 mansions. We do know that. Apparently, he demands private jet rides while campaigning for Clinton. Apparently, they didn't like that. That's prompting a former Sanders campaign ad to call the Clinton camp, quote, some of the biggest a-holes in American politics. So it is showing no signs of stopping. And as Clinton allies are continuing to snipe at Sanders, well, with one former advisor recently tweeting that only half of Bernie's donors will, quote, name Vladimir. Wow. Now even President Trump weighing in. He's getting in on the fun. Crooked Hillary Clinton confirms she will not run in 2020. Rules out a third bid for the White House. Ah, shucks. Does that mean I won't get to run against her again? She will be sorely missed. And even without Hillary Clinton, 2020 is shaping up to be a very, very toxic year for the Democrats. Now, their issues are much larger than any of this infighting. This is where it gets serious. The Democrats' biggest problem is they are pushing the most radical agenda of any party in this country's history. By the way, before birth, up to birth, during birth, after birth, abortions, that is called infanticide. That is a child living alone outside the womb. That would be called murder. That's the party of the Democrats now? The party telling you it might be reckless to have kids like Cortez? The party that wants to take away all private health care insurance. They want to socialize, nationalize health care. Now they're talking about legalizing drugs and prostitution. That's gaining momentum among the 2020 candidates. Reparations is now backed by many candidates like Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren. Many are supporting this top marginal tax rate of 70%. And by the way, after you pay your 70% and get to keep maybe 30, maybe not, depending what state you live in, well, if you save some money, then Elizabeth Warren wants a wealth tax on top of it. She wants another bite at the apple. And then, by the way, when you die in the United States of America, you got to pay to die. If you have any money left in your bank account, guess what? They're going to take 40% of that. And if you live in New York, they'll take another 10%. And by the way, so they can take care of people that are unwilling to work. And, of course, pay for child care and retirement and government food and health care and college. They're going to eliminate fossil fuels, gas and oil. They're going to destroy the lifeblood of our economy. They're going to get rid of planes, mandate you rebuild your home. Who's paying for that? The estimates now are as high as $94 trillion in 10 years. That's their proposal. Pushing open borders. Remember, Bozo O'Rourke actually wants to tear down the border walls, preventing any of us from being safe and secure. That would leave all of us defenseless against cartels and drug traffickers and human traffickers of young women into prostitution, gangs that make this country totally defenseless. The 90% of heroin that comes through our southern border now gets through even more easily. And don't forget, free everything. Health care, college, child care, vacations, free healthy government food. It's a party that is totally fueled by a desire to run your life, take your hard-earned money, give it to someone else, and use it to buy power and votes for themselves as they live the lap of luxury. A party committed to destroying the single greatest, best economic system that has led more people out of poverty, that has created more wealth and prosperity, that has created more opportunity than any other economic system in the history of man. A Democratic Party with no plan to make your life better, more safe, more secure, more prosperous for not only you, but for your children and your grandchildren. They are fueled, too, by a rage, a hate, an obsession with victimhood and identity politics, entitlement, pushing doom and gloom day and night, climate hysteria, indoctrinating your kids into believing the world is ending in 12 years just to push the socialist agenda. A party fueled by what can only be described as psychotic, literally unhinged, rage and hatred every second, minute, hour of every day against the duly elected president. And they're not even trying to hide it. Just today, we learned that shifty Adam Schiff hired former MSNBC legal analyst, collusion conspiracy theorist Daniel Goldman to lead this new witch hunt against the president and the House Intel Committee. Forget the Mueller report. That's not working out the way we want. We'll rewrite it. And as the Daily Caller points out, Goldman has already been caught asserting baseless Russia hysteria. Look at the screen. He was promoting the phony Steele dossier, the debunked Steele dossier, even debunked by Michael Cohen, who never went to Prague. And there were no hookers urinating in Donald Trump's bed in Moscow. They weren't there. Now we have more evidence. Endless fishing expeditions have nothing to do with the truth, everything to do with making every working day a public trial against the president. Look at this. Even David Axelrod has more sense than this. Former chief strategist for Obama agreeing, writing on Twitter, that the Democrats' wide-ranging investigations too easily play into the witch hunt meme. Look at that. He's right. And that's because the Democrats are engaging in a witch hunt. All right, here with reaction as we now are looking at two very distinct paths for the future.